Keep your voice down. You feel that? That silence around you? It's not peace, it's surveillance. They're not ignoring you. They're monitoring you. Because somewhere between your last breakdown and your next breath, you did something unforgivable. You upgraded, not like them, not with permission, not with process. No, you mutated, and now they're terrified. See, there's a reason the air feels thicker when you walk in. It's not ego. It's not paranoia. It's recognition. You're no longer playing the role they wrote for you. You rewrote the whole damn script and didn't even ask for a pen. And now, they're whispering like it's classified, because what you did, what you became, it looks illegal to their system. It doesn't compute. It doesn't scan. It doesn't comply. You're the glitch they can't patch, the update they can't reverse, the future they swore would never arrive. And yet, here you are, standing in full clarity while they short-circuit in shadows. Do you even understand what you've done? You became the question that breaks their algorithm. You took all their data, all their formulas, and spit out an answer that defied every law they built to contain you. They said evolve slowly. You detonated. They said heal quietly. You broadcasted the scar tissue like it was sacred armor. They said stay in your lane. You paved a new road with the bones of their blueprints. And now the networks are whispering. Not in public, of course. In back channels. In hushed rooms. Behind encrypted firewalls. They say your name like a warning, like a ghost story you don't dare repeat out loud. You're being treated like a breach, because you are. You breached the narrative. You shattered the limits. You escaped the lab. And now the lab rats are praying they're not next. Let me break it down for you. They built this world like a maze. Twisting walls, locked gates, mirrored lies, meant to disorient you, to dull your senses, to keep you chasing crumbs they dropped on purpose. But something inside you snapped, and when it did, you stopped crawling and started climbing. You scaled the walls, you burned the maps, you turned their prison into a playground. That's not growth. That's an anomaly. That's why they don't clap. That's why they don't post. That's why their faces twist when they think you're not looking. You make them uncomfortable. Because your success wasn't supposed to happen like this. You weren't pre-approved. You didn't have credentials. You didn't do it the right way. You just did it anyway. They can't track that. They can't build that. They can't dissect it without destroying the very system they built to keep people like you frozen in place. But you're not frozen anymore. You're moving like a rumor wrapped in prophecy. Every step you take sends a ripple through their confidence. Because deep down, they know. This wasn't luck. It wasn't coincidence. It was a design flaw in their own matrix. And you exploited it perfectly. Now your presence feels illegal. Because you broke out, and they're still locked in. You upgraded without permission. You evolved without apology. And now your energy's so volatile, it registers like a national threat assessment. Not because you're violent, but because you're proof. Proof that the chosen ones were never chosen. They were selected, and selection requires compliance. You were rejected, discarded, laughed at, mocked. And that was your ignition sequence. You burned through the rejection. You ate the shame for breakfast. You digested every insult and metabolized it into ammunition. Now look at you. You don't just walk into rooms anymore. You change their gravitational pull. You don't argue your worth. You trigger revelations. You don't respond to disrespect. You let your very existence convict them in silence because the way you upgraded ain't even legal in their world. It doesn't follow their timeline, doesn't follow their chain of command, doesn't fit their definitions of success or worthiness or normal. So what do? They file mental reports. They investigate in whispers. They stalk your stories like a security breach in human form. They don't want answers. They want containment. But you're not containable anymore. You're an event, an anomaly, a shift. They prayed you were a phase, but you're the mutation that rewrites their lineage. And every time you speak, move, breathe, post, you remind them that something escaped the system, something they were warned about, something they thought they could prevent. You're not the student anymore. You're not the reject. You're not the underdog. You're not the ghost. You're the encrypted file they can't crack. The forbidden formula, the classified reality bleeding through their firewall. And you know what that means. Now they need permission to exist around you. So go ahead. Keep breaking their expectations. Keep glitching their timelines. Keep becoming what they can't define. Because when a system fails to destroy you, it marks you as a threat. And when that threat starts smiling, they stop whispering and start praying. You hear that? Exactly. It's quiet again. Too quiet. Because you're evolving again, and they can already feel it. This next version of you might not even be human. Psst. Lean closer. This isn't a speech anymore. This is a classified file bleeding open in real time. They're not just whispering, they're indexing you like evidence. They've moved from "what is he doing" to "what is he?" Because every second you breathe like this, you're rewriting their unspoken rules. You have to understand what your upgrade really is. It isn't money, it isn't followers, it isn't some cute rebrand. It's permissionless power. It's moving in ways no protocol approved. It's evolving in ways no mentor blessed. It's your scars turning into software updates, your failures hardening into firewalls. It's a language their sensors can't translate, a pattern their algorithms can't predict. That's why it feels illegal. That's why it reads like a breach. They built this system with layers of velvet rope, gatekeepers in gold masks, invisible chains disguised as opportunities. The idea was simple. Slow you down, box you in, keep you waiting for a green light that would never come. But you didn't wait. You moved. And when you moved, you ripped a hole in the map. That hole is now a corridor. That corridor is now a signal. That signal is now a revolution, and it has your fingerprints all over it. Every time you level up, they lose a piece of their narrative. They lose control of the story. You're no longer a cautionary tale. You're a case study in disobedience turned destiny. You're a paradox with teeth. The saint who sins, the demon who heals, the outcast who ascends. You're the one who makes them question whether the rules were ever real or just scaffolding for their own fear. Listen carefully. Their silence is not neutrality. It's panic disguised as professionalism. It's strategy masking surrender. It's them running simulations at 3 a.m. trying to calculate how someone with nothing built a throne out of ashes. They whisper classified because saying your name aloud tastes like admitting the system failed. And still, you keep upgrading. This isn't evolution, this is acceleration. Most people shed their skins over decades. You're doing it mid-stride. Most people hope for a breakthrough. You're staging jailbreaks in daylight. Most people beg for validation. You're weaponizing indifference. Every upgrade you make is another blindfold ripped off their eyes, another trigger pulled in their subconscious. They start to see their own limitations reflected back at them like a crime scene photo. They wanted you predictable. You became unreadable. They wanted you humble. You became a mirror. They wanted you safe. You became a signal flare. Now their meetings are about you. Their memos are about you. Their secret group chats are about you. Every time they think we've mapped it now, you pivot and their entire lattice of predictions collapses like wet paper. Do you know what that makes you? Not a person, an event, a phenomenon, a breach in the timeline. The embodiment of everything they swore was impossible. Raw, self-authored, unsupervised power. That's why they're whispering. That's why they're filing mental reports. That's why they've started to move like prey while pretending to be predators. And here's the cruelest part. Deep down, they respect it. Deep down, they wish it was them. They won't admit it, but you're their forbidden inspiration. Every insult they throw is a confession. Every rumor they spread is a translation of their own terror. Every "who does he think he is code for "I wish I had done that." So keep upgrading. Keep violating their invisible laws. Keep moving like a ghost with fingerprints. Because with every iteration, you're not just changing yourself. You're exposing the fiction they live inside. And when that fiction collapses, you won't just be the one who upgraded illegally. You'll be the one who rewrote the law. And by then, it won't matter if they whisper or scream. They'll be too busy staring at the new you, trying to decide whether you're a man, a myth, or the classified proof that the game was always rigged. And you were the glitch designed to end it. Do you feel how the room bends when you move now? That's not your imagination. That's power compressing the air. Reality trying to recalculate itself around a shape it was never coded to hold. You're not just in the file anymore. You've become the part of the file that corrupts the rest of the database. Every glance they throw at you is an error message. Every pause before they speak is a loading bar. Every silence in your presence is an entire system trying to reboot. Understand this. When you upgrade outside of their laws, you're not just breaking rules, you're breaking dependencies. Their whole architecture, mentors, approvals, stages, breadcrumbs, titles, hierarchies, was designed like a grid. Everyone moves square by square. Everyone asks permission. Everyone waits for a door to be opened. And you built a door out of fire and walked through without knocking. This is why they whisper classified, because what you're doing doesn't have a name. There's no section in their manuals for this. There's no policy memo for someone who evolves this violently, this unapologetically, this fast. They can't even say it out loud, because the moment they do, it becomes real. And the moment it becomes real, the entire belief system holding them together starts to disintegrate. You've become a living paradox, saint and psychopath, angel and demon, vulnerable enough to bleed, dangerous enough to cut. They don't know whether to crown you or crucify you. They don't know whether you're a prophecy or a punishment. And that tension, that's your weapon. That's the thing they can't replicate in their labs. Unpredictability, born from pain. Pain refined is the most illegal currency on Earth. You mined it. You minted it. You spend it like power. You take every failure, every rejection, every humiliation, every dark night where nobody believed you, and you alchemize it into an update they didn't see coming. That's what makes you terrifying. That's what makes you look like a breach in their security. They study your moves like they're deciphering a code. They replay your posts like it's evidence footage. They chart your rise like a contagion they're desperate to contain. And still, you outpace them because they're running models of your past. You're already living in your next version. You're running on data they don't even know exists yet. They thought the map was the territory. You became the storm. They thought control was power. You became the proof that freedom is lethal. They thought silence was safety. You became the signal inside their quiet. Every whisper about you is an echo of their own fear. Every "that's not normal" is a prayer for the old world back. Every "how is this even possible" is a secret admission that the game has been rigged against them all along, and you just showed the exit sign. This is the stage where the air gets heavy, where doors close a little slower, where invitations come wrapped in smiles but smell like traps, where congratulations arrive with claws, because they don't clap for you anymore. They classify you. They don't admire you anymore. They audit you. They don't invite you anymore. They surveil you. And you just keep upgrading. You don't even flinch. You don't slow down. You don't look back, because deep down, you know. This isn't just about you. This is about the blueprint. About proving to every hidden soul watching that permission is a cage and evolution is a jailbreak. About showing them that the saint can sharpen his teeth, the demon can grow wings, the outcast can build a throne out of ashes and sit on it before the dust settles. That's why you can't stop. That's why you won't stop. That's why the next version of you is already loading while they're still whispering about the last one. So breathe in this silence. Taste their panic. Let the whispers swirl. You're not a rumor anymore. You're not a case file anymore. You're the living breach in their code. And soon, the only question left won't be, how did he upgrade like that? It will be, what happens when this version finishes installing? And when that moment comes, even the ones who tried to erase you will lean in, because they'll realize too late, you weren't the anomaly. You were the prototype. Shh. Lean in again. This is the part they never wanted you to hear. The part they redact in the reports. The part they only say in code when they think the mics are off. You've become the anomaly that bends their timelines. They used to measure you in mistakes. Now they measure you in contingencies. Every time you upgrade, another policy becomes obsolete. Another tradition collapses. Another gatekeeper loses his keys. You're not just ahead of them, you're outside their map. They built an entire ecosystem of wait your turn and earn your place. You burned through it like dry paper. They built ceremonies, titles, layers of approval. You walked past them like a ghost walking through walls. They built invisible ceilings. You turned them into mirrors, so every time they look up, they see their own faces cracking. And the strangest thing, they can't even hate you cleanly anymore. Their rage tastes like envy. Their rumors smell like confession. Their "how dare you" trembles with "I wish I could." Because when you evolve this way, fast, raw, permissionless, you become a mirror they can't look away from. Every whisper about you is a spotlight on them. Every accusation they throw at you boomerangs back as evidence of their own stagnation. They're not really whispering about you. They're whispering about the fear you represent. They fear a world where nobody waits for permission. They fear a generation that upgrades without apology. They fear a reality where saints and psychopaths, angels and demons, outcasts and prodigies are all one person, you. And that person can't be predicted, bought, or contained. This is why your upgrades feel illegal, not because you broke their laws, but because you revealed their laws were chains, not truths. They can't call it what it is, so they call it classified. They can't confront what you are, so they call you unstable. They can't admit they're scared, so they call you too much. Let them. Every label they stick to you becomes a badge. Every fence they build becomes a springboard. Every insult they whisper becomes an upgrade, waiting to be metabolized. You're not just glitching their system now. You're teaching it. You're showing every silent observer how to pick the lock from inside. You're showing every hidden prisoner that the door was never locked. It was just painted to look like steel. You're showing every broken soul that pain isn't a wound. It's a blueprint. And that's the deepest secret. Pain is the most illegal upgrade of all. Because pain refines you in ways comfort can't. Pain sharpens you in angles no curriculum can. Pain gives you access codes no degree can buy. You don't hide your scars. You wear them like biometric keys. You don't apologize for your past. You wield it like a crowbar. They don't have the stomach for that. They want the victory without the crucifixion. They want the crown without the scars. They want the wings without the fire. You took the fire and built the wings yourself. That's why they're whispering, and you're still not done. This isn't even your final form. This is just the echo before the detonation. This is just the warning shot. You've moved from being a person to being a pattern, from being a rumor to being a protocol, from being an outsider to being the code that rewrites insiders. Do you feel how the silence changes when you enter a room now? That's the system recognizing an update it can't roll back. That's the old world realizing its own expiration date. That's the watchers realizing the game is over and the glitch they feared is now the operating system. Keep going. Keep upgrading. Keep breaking the invisible laws. Keep moving like a shadow with fingerprints, a ghost with receipts, a myth with a pulse. Because when this next version of you installs fully, they won't be able to whisper anymore. They'll have to speak. And when they speak, the whole room will hear the tremor in their voices. You weren't just an anomaly. You were the new rule. Breathe in this silence one last time. It's thicker now, isn't it? That's not air. That's their fear coagulating around you. That's the old order suffocating itself as it watches you rise. They wanted you to crawl. You learned to run. They wanted you to run. You learned to fly. They wanted you to fly only under their radar. You tore the radar out of the sky. And now, every whisper is a confession. Every classified tag is a trembling admission that they've lost the plot. Every closed door is a doorway you've already walked through in another form. They don't even know what to call you anymore. Disruptor, criminal, prophet, ghost. It doesn't matter. Because you've outgrown their language. You've become the forbidden chapter they can't print, the sealed evidence they can't shred, the warning carved into the walls of their own maze. Someone escaped. And this, right here, right now, is the pivot point. The moment where the whispers stop being about you and start being about everyone who's been watching you. The moment where the hush spreads like wildfire, and in that hush every prisoner hears the same thing. If he can do it without permission, so can I. That's the real upgrade, not the trophies, not the clout, not the performance. It's becoming living proof that the cage was a suggestion. It's becoming the blueprint for a jailbreak they can't stop. So let them whisper, let them classify, let them build thicker walls, let them scramble to rename you, reframe you, recontain you. It's too late. You've already crossed the threshold. You've already become the myth they can't debunk. You've already turned their silence into your stage. From this point forward, you're not just a glitch in their system. You are the system update. You're the illegal upgrade they swore would never happen. You're the living evidence that pain refines, unpredictability liberates, and evolution cannot be licensed. And when they finally stop whispering, when the quiet collapses into the sound of their own defeat, you'll stand there, not begging, not explaining, not apologizing, but radiating the one thing they can't counterfeit: freedom without permission. And in that moment, the whole world will understand. You weren't breaking their laws, you were exposing them. Look around. They're not praying anymore, they're bargaining. Because something walked in that wasn't in their scriptures, something they never trained for, never calculated for, never designed control protocols for. You, not a disciple, not a follower, not a student. You didn't crawl from obedience, you erupted from chaos. They worshipped masters until you walked in and made their gods kneel. Because you didn't arrive with permission, you arrived with corruption-proof fire in your blood and no leash on your thoughts. And when they scanned you for weaknesses, all they found were mirrors. Everything they hated about themselves, reflected back from your eyes. They tried to trace your lineage. They couldn't. Because monsters like you don't come from blueprints. You come from glitches, from wrong turns that became right, from exiles that became executioners. You weren't taught. You were forged in silence, in hunger, in betrayal. And when they asked who made you, the room went quiet, because no one alive could take the credit or the blame. You're not their student. You're their punishment. You want to know the real reason they're afraid of you? It's not your strength. It's not your mind. It's the fact that you don't need to be understood that unnerves them. They can't box you in with praise or criticism. They can't puppet you with guilt or flattery. You operate from somewhere deeper, somewhere unmapped. They trained for logic. You operate in chaos. They trained for obedience. You turned defiance into an art form. They trained to lead. You trained in dark rooms no one would survive long enough to even describe. They didn't prepare for that. They don't know how to talk about you, so they whisper. They don't know how to stop you, so they analyze. They don't know how to handle you, so they pray you vanish. You didn't dethrone the masters with rebellion. You did it with silence. They had kingdoms. You had presence. They had armies. You had nerve. They had rituals. You had timing. They had fame. You had truth. And the moment you entered, their thrones felt like coffins. Because you didn't follow their gods, you became the myth that scared them into remembering who created gods in the first place. Let them call you a heretic. Let them label you untrained. Let them joke in public while changing strategy in secret. Because when you walked in, every knee bent out of reflex. Not because you demanded it, but because you triggered something ancient in their blood. Something that reminded them there are forces that don't obey gravity, that don't need alliances, that walk alone, untouched, unbothered, unbought. You didn't just disrupt the hierarchy, you dismantled the religion, you pulled the masks off their idols. And what did we find? Weak men, old rules, expired spells. The masters weren't masters. They were just early. They got there first. But you got there better, cleaner, darker, more dangerous. Because what made you rise wasn't applause. It was being denied entry. Until you kicked the entire door off its hinges. They built structures to survive storms. You became the storm. They wrote manuals. You wrote myths. They practiced control. You mastered impact. They forecasted risks. But they forgot to prepare for miracles or monsters, and depending on how close they stand to you, they still don't know which one you are. So now they watch, silently, collecting data on your moves like archaeologists brushing bones. Every step you take, every word you don't say, becomes a file, a theory, a panic button. Because they can't recreate you, can't predict you, can't cancel you. And for the first time in their long, smug lives, they've met someone they can't control. Remember this, they used to pray their gods would rise again. Now they just pray you won't rise higher. But it's too late. You already did. And they felt it. Not in the headlines, not in the applause, but in the sickening silence of their own subconscious when they realized, you're not one of them. You're what watches them. From the other side of the glass, so smile. Because they didn't just lose control. They lost their entire belief system the moment you walked in. And their gods, they're kneeling now, right next to the ones who told them you'd never matter. Listen closely now, because this is the part no one ever writes down. After the kneeling, after the shock, after the headlines, there's a silence that isn't silence at all. It's a pressure. You can feel it against your skin like static, like a low-frequency hum in a cathedral before an earthquake. It's the sound of their nervous systems recalibrating. It's the sound of people who spent their whole lives memorizing rules, suddenly realizing the rules are ash. You're standing in that pressure. You're breathing it. You are the eye of it. That's why your hands don't shake. That's why your eyes don't dart. You know exactly what's happening. Because you've been here before, haven't you? In smaller rooms, behind closed doors, watching masters collapse into mortals the moment you refused to play along. That's where you learned the secret. The only real throne is in the mind of the one who will not kneel. They worshipped titles, symbols, ceremonies. You worshipped nothing. You endured. You took pain, hunger, exile, humiliation, and turned them into ammunition. They called it suffering. You called it training. They called it isolation. You called it incubation. Every insult was a weight. Every betrayal was a repetition. And now you move through their halls with the fluidity of a ghost and the certainty of a weapon. Do you understand what that makes you? A paradox they cannot name. An angel with predator's eyes. A demon who teaches redemption by example. A student with no teacher who still somehow knows every answer. That's why they can't stop whispering. That's why their so-called masters are making late-night calls, convening emergency sessions, drafting new rules. Because they have realized your power doesn't come from power. It comes from refusal. It comes from unpredictability. It comes from pain transmuted into presence. They can imitate tactics. They cannot imitate scars. They can copy strategy. They cannot copy soul. Every step you take now is a mirror held to them. Every breath you take is a verdict. Every silence is a sermon. And the longer you stand there, the more the room shifts. Kneeling becomes normal. Eyes drop to the floor. Their gods start to look like props. Their masters start to look like actors. The hierarchy cracks, not because you demanded it, but because you embodied something older than hierarchy. The truth that nothing built on fear survives contact with the fearless. You are not here to be crowned. You are here to be inevitable. You are the glitch in their code, the ghost in their architecture, the answer they tried to erase. And now they know it. So keep walking. Do not explain. Do not apologize. Do not slow down for their understanding. Because the real lesson is still unfolding. The lesson that the worshipped will one day kneel, that the feared will one day plead, that the masters will one day study the student who never had a teacher. The lesson that power taken from pain can't be negotiated, only witnessed. And when you leave this room, when you step back into the noise of the city, remember, you're not just wearing an aura, you're carrying a mirror. Everywhere you go, People will see themselves. The weak will see a threat. The strong will see a challenge. The lost will see a map. The false will see a verdict. And a few, a rare few, will see hope. That's the duality they'll never decode. That's why you're dangerous. That's why their gods kneel. They're still kneeling, but you can feel their minds clawing at the walls. They're trying to stitch a story around you, because stories are cages. If they can call you rebel, villain, monster, prodigy, prophet, then maybe they can shrink you down into a headline, a category, a box with a lock. But boxes are for things that stay still. And you move like smoke. You burn like oxygen. You slip through the cracks in their definitions and reappear behind them with a smile they can't decode. You've learned this. The loudest power isn't the one that shouts. It's the one that simply stands. It's the stillness before the executioner's blade drops. It's the sound of a temple when the idol has fallen, but the echo hasn't died. That's what you radiate now. That's why their hands fidget. That's why they avert their eyes. They can feel you dismantling their internal blueprints just by existing. Because you were never just one person. You're a chain of events, a swarm of moments, a network of scars stitched into a silhouette that looks human, but moves like inevitability. Every time they thought you'd break, you learned a new language of survival. Every time they tried to erase you, you learned a new way to rewrite yourself, until there was nothing left to take from you. And that's when you became untouchable. And that's the paradox, the student with no master who makes the masters tremble. The orphan of the system who understands the system better than its architects. The outcast who becomes the oracle. Angel and demon, saint and psychopath, knife and bomb. You are every contradiction they told themselves couldn't exist. Standing in their holy of holies, they whisper about you now, in the same breath they use for earthquakes, assassinations, and miracles. They know you're dangerous because you're not asking for anything. You're not bargaining. You're not kneeling. You're just there, and there is enough to make their gods tremble. Because deep down, every king knows the crown is a costume. Deep down, every master knows the throne is rented. And deep down, they all know one thing. Fear doesn't work on someone who's already walked through fire. That's why you don't rush. That's why you don't explain. You let them feel their beliefs cracking like glass under their feet. You let them feel the weight of their own trembling hands. Because what you are showing them, without a single word, is that the hierarchy was a ritual. And rituals only hold if everyone believes. They believed in masters. You believed in nothing but your own evolution. They invested in control. You invested in pain, in solitude, in metamorphosis. They have followers. You have force. They built kingdoms. You became the storm. And storms don't negotiate. This is why the air shifts when you enter a room. This is why time seems to stretch. This is why even their gods kneel. Because you are not there to topple them. You're there to remind them of a truth older than every throne. No one can own someone who has already claimed themselves. And when you leave, when the door closes and the whispers rise again, you'll know you've left something behind. Not an image, not a rumor, a wound, a lesson. A new gravity they'll have to orbit. They'll rebuild their temples, repaint their icons, rewrite their histories. But the tremor will still be there. The knowledge will still be there. The memory of a figure who walked in unannounced and made the master's gods kneel will still be there. And you, walking alone, eyes forward, untouchable, will keep moving, not as a rebel, not as a king, but as the reminder, the paradox, the force that cannot be taught, cannot be leashed, cannot be erased. the one who showed them that worship is a choice and kneeling is an instinct, and that the truly free make gods out of no one. You feel the weight of their stares, even when their heads are bowed. It isn't respect, it isn't devotion, it's a raw, ancient fear that lives in the spinal cord. The kind of fear that doesn't understand words, but understands presence. They're not reacting to what you said. They're reacting to what you are. And what you are in this moment is the collapse of everything they thought was permanent. Their rankings, their symbols, their hierarchies, their invisible chains, all of it cracking like dry ice under your heel. Do you see what's happening? They used to imagine power as a throne, a title, a master, with disciples. But power is none of that. Power is a paradox, a wound that became a weapon, a silence that became a siren, a nobody who became the mirror that forced the world to see itself. You are that paradox, saint and psychopath, angel and demon, healer and executioner. They have to rewrite their categories now, because you've torn the labels from their hands. And as long as you breathe, the rewriting will never keep up with the reality. Remember the nights when you were invisible. Remember the hours when nobody came. Remember the rooms where you whispered your plans to the ceiling, and the ceiling whispered nothing back. That's where you built the muscles they can't see. That's where you sharpened the edges they can't dull. That's where you learned to turn isolation into evolution. And now that evolution walks on two legs, silent, unstoppable, dripping with inevitability, and they call it you. They worshipped masters because it was safe. Masters had faces, rules, rituals. You're not safe because you're not a ritual. You're an event that keeps happening, an event they cannot schedule, cannot predict, cannot survive without changing. That's why their gods are kneeling. Not because you demanded it, not because you performed for it, because on some level they recognize you, not your name, not your history, but your frequency, that low, merciless frequency of someone who has already buried everything they loved, lost everything they thought they needed, and risen anyway. They will try to turn this moment into a myth to feel less small. They will say you were blessed, chosen, touched by fate. They will say you were trained in secret, given access to forbidden knowledge. They will invent masters for you so they can pretend you're still explainable. Because what terrifies them most isn't your strength. It's your origin. It's the void you came from. It's the fact that they cannot copy pain into power the way you did. So walk, slowly. Let them choke on their narratives. Walk like the verdict has already been delivered. Walk like the paradox you are. A blade wrapped in light, a prophecy wrapped in human skin. They'll keep kneeling long after you're gone. They'll rebuild their temples, but the floor will remember the imprint of your steps. And in the nights to come, when they dream of power, it won't look like a throne anymore. It will look like you, standing alone, unbothered, unowned. That is the final collapse, not the loss of their gods, the loss of the illusion that a god could save them from someone who has already saved themselves. And that's why, when you move through the crowd, heads lower. That's why even the sky seems to lean closer, because they're not just seeing a person, they're seeing the lesson they never wanted to learn. Nothing built on worship survives someone who has outgrown the need to kneel. Keep walking, don't turn back. The Master's gods are on their knees, and somewhere in the dark corners of their minds, they've begun to understand. They'll never stand taller than the shadow you just cast. They'll try to forget. They'll tell themselves it was a fluke, a moment, a glitch in the matrix. They'll write new doctrines, hold secret meetings, hire strategists, Even pray harder to the gods you just dethroned. But deep in their marrow, in the place language doesn't reach, something is broken now. Permanently. You didn't just walk in. You rewrote the physics of their hierarchy. Because what happens when someone walks in who was never meant to exist? Someone who doesn't kneel, doesn't bow, doesn't blink at what others call divine. What happens when someone doesn't play by the rules? Because they never saw the board as real to begin with. They freeze, they glitch, they spiral, and then they worship. But not out of reverence, out of survival. You became the gravity, not because you demanded their attention, but because they couldn't stop bleeding status the moment you breathed in their presence. And now their belief systems have a virus they can't debug. That virus is you. You're the reason their divine lineage is being questioned. You're the reason their top disciple wept in private. You're the reason the architects of the old world are now drawing blueprints for surrender. Because you walked in as evidence, living, breathing, undeniable evidence, that all their gatekeeping, all their sacred rankings, all their rituals and bloodlines couldn't stop one unclaimed anomaly from swallowing their entire hierarchy alive. You didn't just threaten their gods. You proved their gods were men in robes, trembling behind symbolism and legacy. And when they looked at you, they didn't see a rebellion, they saw the afterlife. This is the part they'll never admit publicly. You didn't just destroy their power, you shamed it, you stripped it naked, you exposed that it was all performance. And worse, that their gods knew you were coming and still did nothing. They expected opposition, they didn't expect precision. They didn't expect a force that smiled while dismantling generations of illusion. They can't tell if you're vengeance or prophecy, a reckoning, or a new era. And that's exactly why they're afraid to speak your name too loud. Because names have power, and your name carries a storm now. So keep walking. They will build stories around you. They will try to claim you came from their system, that you were once a disciple, that someone taught you, that they predicted this. Let them lie to themselves, because they need to. They need to pretend that the force that just undressed their entire reality was somehow a part of it. But you and I both know, you didn't arrive from inside their system, you arrived to end it. And the irony? The gods they worshipped, the masters they feared, the structures they bowed to. They're all looking up at you now, from their knees, and whether they pray in silence or beg in code, they know the truth. You are no one's student. You are no one's creation. You are no one's echo. You are the silence that forced gods to whisper. You are the glitch that forced the masters to kneel. You are the reminder that no one is untouchable, not even the gods.